Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And y'all, knowing your starseed self, this is a big conversation. Even if you've been just a little bit curious, if it hasn't come up in consciousness, there's a bridging of intelligence that's happening, and it's been happening for years. But the more we become aware of this, the curiosity of the starseed self is amazing. And I find that people that sometimes are very heart-led, from that cosmic Christ type of energy, very heart-led. I find that the starseed information comes later sometimes. But if you lead from the starseed and you know more of those origins, the tapping into that heart space that's expanding for all of us as well. So they intertwine, and Matthew John is just second to none. And his way to really tune in to decipher the gifts that you carry, where you come from, why it is, and then what do you do with that? What impact does it have in your life? So it's gonna be an amazing call. Matthew is an amazing spiritual teacher. He's an intuitive psychic medium, trance channeler, intuitive astrologer, starseed guide, energy healer, medical intuitive. He's a life coach, mentor. He works with the ascended masters, the angels, the galactics. He's just freaking amazing. And we're fortunate to have him here today. We're going to take a lot of Q&A, y'all. So raise your hand. If you want to ask. We're going to talk about Lemuria and Atlantis a lot today, and Orion. And this is a big conversation. It's a lot's coming up for me in it as well. So navigating this intelligence that's in the field right now is going to be super impactful and helpful for navigating the next few months or even the next couple of years as we move forward. So again, raise your hand to ask questions, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation. And with that, Matthew, welcome back to BTO, buddy.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited as always. Thank you.
Hmm. Where do you want to start this? So knowing your starseed self, and we've talked about this a little bit, but give us an overview on the impact that that can have on someone's consciousness and how they're developing.
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, if you just simplify it, literally, I'm from the stars. I'm not from Earth. You're from the stars. You're not from Earth. And those that are watching, you're very likely not from Earth. You're from the stars. And then if you kind of imagine you're zooming out, right? This is just one planet, right? Like the Earth in the background here. And amongst billions of stars, amongst billions of galaxies, amongst potentially multiple universes, and it's just literally an unlimited Russian doll, right? If we start from here and then start to look at what's out there, and that knowingness that in reality, oh, no wonder I've never really felt like the systems here make a lot of sense. No wonder I'm not super engaged in politics and the 3D world, or I have even run away from the material world, or I felt like I never fit into a specific role or job, or my family. I never fit in with my family or my peers or grown up in school, right? Wow. In reality, I'm literally a soul from outside of this planet. It makes so much sense. So it can be absolutely crucial, and it can, I don't know, maybe like thinking of it as you give yourself, once you figure out your star seed, at least this was the experience for me, it's kind of like giving yourself this internal permission to be different than the people you see out in the world, and to be different than your family. Because you are inherently different because you come from the stars.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, with the Starseed Origins, again, we've had these civilizations here on Earth also that definitely had technology that was from other places. And I mentioned the civilizations of Lemuria
Yeah.
and Atlantis. There's time to tell us about the impact of how that consciousness is shifting now. Again, the intelligence, or for some even the archetype of what Atlantis would bring, and the significance again of technology of Lemuria, and why during this time that there's a connection that's available that perhaps hasn't been available ever
Yeah.
since those
Since
civilizations
then, yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. I guess probably let's start out with a little primer on what Lemuria and Atlantis were
Okay.
or are. for people that aren't super familiar. So back 13,000 years ago, just like we have astrological cycles throughout the year, right now we're in Cancer season. We just came from Gemini season, right? The wheel of the year turns with the solstice, the equinox, etc. Well, there's also a larger planetary cycle for planet Earth. And there's a particular cycle that works in approximately 26,000 years in totality to move all the way around the zodiac wheel. And it's actually moving, instead of counterclockwise around the wheel, it's moving retrograde clockwise around the wheel. And these are planetary ages. So you might have heard of, we're in the age of Aquarius, or maybe we're entering the age of Aquarius, going back to the hippie times of the 60s when my parents were, doing whatever they were doing at Woodstock and singing, "This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius," right? So since then, we've kind of had this, counterculture movement, but even, more lately in the last couple decades, more out in the open in the New Age circles, like, yeah, we're entering into the age of Aquarius, right? Well, what is that? That's a particular planetary age. So we can divide this 26,000 year cycle into 12 pie slices, right? Now, technically, we're still in the age of Pisces, but, and there's arguments amongst astrologers, when do we actually ingress from Pisces into Aries? Some say it actually happened during the harmonic convergence of 1987. Some will say it was 2012. Some will say it was 2020. Some will say 2024. Some will say 2043. Others will say 2162, right? I'm in the camp of 2043. To me, Pluto in Aquarius is that runway into actually the planetary age of Aquarius. Regardless, we either have or are shortly entering into a planetary age of Aquarius. Now, every time our planet enters into the sign of Aquarius or Leo, we have entered into, our solar system has entered into what's called the photon belt. The photon belt is an area of increased light emanating from the galactic center, which is where the Pleiades are. And light equals consciousness, light equals spiritual evolution. So every time our solar system and our planet, being in that solar system, enters into that age of light, then we are experiencing an age of light on the planet. Makes sense, right? So the last age of light was the age of Leo. It's Leo and Aquarius at this point in the long-term galactic cycles, because in reality, our solar system is spiraling around the galactic center. But at this point, recently, last couple 100,000 years, it's Leo and Aquarius, that polarity, which is when we enter into the photon belt. So the age of Leo, which was 13,000 years ago, we could say, right, based on these cycles, that was when we had the ancient continents of Lemuria and Atlantis. Lemuria being in the west, the Pacific, Hawaii being a remnant of Lemuria, Atlantis being in the Atlantic Ocean, the Bermuda Triangle, the ancient ruins off Cuba, those being remains of Atlantis. Lemuria was much more spiritually grounded in nowadays what we would call pagan traditions. Worshipping the elements, working with the land, working with all creatures, harming none, raising children communally, teaching children the ways of the elders, like our indigenous people in the modern day, right? And teaching them magic, teaching them how to be telekinetic, how to be telepathic, how to group together and be able to transmit energy as a group to make some sort of benevolent change, to heal an animal, to heal a sick child. Very communal living, much like on the Pleiades. And actually, the Pleiadians helped to build the Lemurian civilization. Atlantis was very different. Atlantis was very much a reflection of modern day Western reality, Western life, Western culture. New York City, Philadelphia, London, Berlin, right? Modern culture where big skyscrapers and technology, like, nowadays we're driving around electric cars, which I just got to drive one in Florida and it was awesome. I really want one now. It was so cool. But like in Atlantis, yeah, it was that type of technology, but not electric. It was, scalar based technology, hovercrafts flying up above, like, Doc Brown at the beginning of Back to the Future 2. He's like, these damn cabbies up in the sky, right? Traffic is worse in the sky than on Earth. But that really advanced technology, the ability to teleport, the ability to heal like medical technology to be able to heal any illness, any disease in human, animal instantly, right? Atlantis became very obsessed with developing technology. Unfortunately, towards the latter stages of Atlantis, especially, more of the focus went toward building weapons, building things that could be used to control the population, to manipulate the weather, to manipulate the grid lines, to manipulate the tectonic plates of planet Earth, and to create war. And similar to the type of technological developments we've seen during World War II and especially after World War II, many of which remain hidden. But that's a little primer, and you let me know which direction we want to go, because we can go.
I think that's fantastic for the history, and I truly feel that we're bridging the civilizations during this time now.
Yes.
And it's one, and I've been feeling it really strongly. I think different places around the earth hold the technology in place for when we're ready to activate the cross-pollination of the technology that'll be awakened. And I strongly believe that now during this time we're being granted more access than we have before because of our capacity to hold it with a reverence for what it is and our capacity to be in relationship with it to co-create an expansion and prosperity for all instead of for the patriarchal needs that have been in place for a long time.
Yeah, and I love that. Absolutely. And this ascension, one of the key ways to view this ascension on a collective level is instead of during the age of Leo, where we had this diametrical opposition between these two very different civilizations that contained the same exact species. It was the same humans with the same DNA, but living very different lives with very different goals. And it wasn't just Lemuria and Atlantis. There were also people living in North America. There were people living in South America, in Africa, and Asia. It's just that these two civilizations hold particular importance because they ended up destroying each other and destroying the planet. And that karma is still not only being felt today, it's like coming back ferociously today because we're right on the cusp of entering into the age of Aquarius. And what we need to do is to heal and alchemize all of this karma, which is the topic of today's call. But one of the key ways to view the Ascension is that it's an alchemy of Lemuria and Atlantis, an alchemy of New Lemuria and New Atlantis, right? It's easy to see New Atlantis, right? I'm in New York City today, right? This is New Atlantis. And, the big cities of the West, and also even, in China, and especially China, because they've really gone towards that Atlantean type technology that's used to control the population. With New Lemuria, which we can find when we go to Hawaii, where you're at, when we go to Mount Shasta, right? Which we should talk a little bit about. When we go to, any of the Pacific Islands, Easter Island that holds that coast, because it literally is the land, right? But not only that, wherever we go where there's communal living, whether it's Costa Rica or Ecuador or even here in the States, or wherever people have consciously come together to create a conscious community, that is New Lemuria. So one of the things I've seen over the next couple of decades is a lot of people leaving the new Atlantean cities, getting fed up with the high cost of, the rent has gotten completely out of control in New York, in San Francisco, in LA, right? It's becoming unaffordable. And a lot of people I've been talking to over the past couple of years, they're taking what they have and they're moving out into the country. They're moving out, into the desert, and they're building community with others. And this is going to really accelerate over the next couple of years as prices continue to climb and start to price out more people out of the cities. More people are going to start to become interested in this communal living. And that's New Lemuria. And eventually, what needs to happen is that the cities become, instead of going to the extreme of what they were in Atlantis with capitalistic manipulation and a social hierarchy that's like unattainable for the lower class to climb at all, and very, and mind control and just surveillance everywhere, the 1984 type reality, which is where it's headed, right? With the Ascension, the idea is at some point that starts to unwind and reverse, and the cities themselves become alchemized into the way they were in Atlantis before things kind of went off the rails, and when people were just living in harmony with one another, just in cities. So
Right.
alchemizing that communal living with the city living on the highest timeline, that's the way I see the future of our planet.
I see that also. I've seen it for years about these smaller cities generating their own governments and being their central government, but the support of other governments, but not controlled by the
Yeah,
outside governments.
yeah.
It's
So our governments are like this. They're pyramids, right?
Mhm.
All governments on planet Earth right now are pyramids. That's what it was in Atlantis. In Lemuria and on the Pleiades, they're circles. They're concentric
Yeah,
circles.
yeah, yeah. It's really powerful. It's funny because years ago, on my birthday specifically, I was driving up the coast in Hawaii and everything was just bright and shiny and super vibrant. And my guides came in very strongly. They said, "Welcome to the new Lemuria. It has awakened."
Mm,
And
mm.
so it's been let out of the bag, if you'll say. But I want you to describe, Matthew, and this is really important. What does that mean for Martina or Deborah or Viv or Janice or Ross that are on the call today? How's this impacting them now? And what can they do to really tap into the consciousness so they can benefit from the highest potential that's activated here?
Yeah. So what you need to understand if you're here on today's call is whether you were in Lemuria, whether you were in Atlantis, it's important to know because you're going to carry particular karma with you. So if you were in Lemuria and not just negative karma, but also positive
Mhm.
and a positive energetic legacy of certain spiritual gifts that you may carry forth, they may literally lie within your energy field and you may have partially awakened them or you may not have awakened them at all yet, right? And the intention, the energetic intention of this call is to help you awaken those gifts and understand what negative karma might still be carried over from Lemuria, Atlantis, and Orion, which we'll get to as well,
Mhm.
and how you can actually alchemize that. So, a good example is if you were in Lemuria, if you were incarnated in Lemuria, and you were there at the end of Lemuria, when the Great War happened, when, as Edgar Casey describes, and I've seen many times in astral experiences, these laser beams, these different colored laser beams coming out of the sky, and just the loudest explosions all around, and just screaming and chaos and bloodshed and fear and trauma and sadness, right? If you were at the end of Lemuria, then that is carried, you carry that with you in your energy field, whether you realize it or not. And that trauma in this life may have, because any karma we carry with us from other lifetimes, in the Ascension life, which all of you here are probably in, you have to alchemize that. You have to go through it. So you're not going to have to experience necessarily being in a genocide, God forbid, or being in a war, God forbid, right? It's more likely that you're going to re-experience that through a really traumatic breakup, a really traumatic accident, a really traumatic grief experience, right? And you may not realize it, but you're actually that karma that's within your energy field, literally all the way from Lemuria, is being brought up
Mhm.
so that it can finally be alchemized and cleared out of your energy field. Because, like you and I just talked about, our optimistic views of the potential for us as a planet to alchemize New Lemuria and New Atlantis, right? Well, we have to alchemize it within ourselves first, or else it's not possible because the collective is a reflection of the individuals, and the individuals are reflective in a way of the collective as well. So what's important is understanding your personal connection with
Mhm.
Atlantis, with Lemuria, with Orion, what it means both on the potentially negative karma side and on the positive side.
And the acceleration of the energies and the plasma waves that are coming in, there's so much facilitation that's really bringing in a beautiful and benevolent way, but we're in it. We have to reconcile these things within us, and it could be It could be a really tough lifetime and having to physically experience, but it's also going to be one of the most liberating lifetimes and how we free ourselves and what's on the other side of the different experiences that we just hadn't had the opportunity to fully have relationship with, to fully transcend. And I do believe that we're going through the end of that book. That was written
Yeah,
at a certain point, and we're getting to a point when as that is held space for, as that is has the opportunity to transition and evolve within us, that we're really in a new place where we're writing a history that hasn't been written before. We're,
and I would take it a step further, and I agree with everything you said, and I would take it even a step further and say that it's all of it. And it's not just Lemurian and Atlantis. It's
yeah.
all of the traumas and all of our lifetimes on Earth that we're wrapping all that up. If
Mhm.
your experience on, I always describe to people that your experience on this planet, is a book, right? And well, people are like, when am I finally going to meet the love of my life? And I say, well, I see it in the future for you. It's just not this year. It's not in this chapter, right?
Yeah.
But similarly, we can look at our entire experience as a soul on planet Earth as one bigger book, right? And let's say you've had 1,500 lifetimes on Earth, and that's 1,500 different pages. Well, on page 1501, the story is about how do you take all of that karma and wisdom and
Mhm.
integrate it all into a single lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, why a lot of light workers experience such challenging lifetimes, because you're trying to take all of that stuff from whether it's a couple hundred or a couple thousand Earth lifetimes and wrap it all up, like you said, in one lifetime.
Well, it could be why it's so challenging this lifetime, but it's also the opportunity of why it's so exciting in this lifetime as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity, right?
Yeah. Oh,
As a soul, if just like that, I love that. Like stepping back from just the ego self, which is just worried about the day to day problems of life, paying the bills, relationship issues, right? Well, just taking a step back, it's like, oh my God, literally as a soul, like we started, literally as a soul from another planet, another star system. I've just been playing on Earth in reality for learning and for fun. And I have the opportunity to take all of that and mesh it all together into this one very special lifetime where I'm meant to become the service worker, I'm meant to become who I've always meant to be on this planet
right.
to help in the planetary ascension. Like, how exciting.
Exactly. And I want to get to something here in a second. First, y'all, we're going to take live Q&A in a little bit. A whole bunch of y'all already have your hands raised. We're going to get to you. The special offer of Matthew is full on. Oh my God, there's so much in there, including live classes, opportunity to work with Matthew one-on-one at a discounted rate. It's epic. Y'all sign up. Chris is going to put the link in the chat box. We'll go through it later. Um, what I wanted to say about what you were offering, Matthew, and this is just a lot of people on the calls. I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. I don't do. And I find that as we're reconciling, I don't even want to say clearing, it's really going through a reconciliation of the karma. We're elevating it. We're bringing it to a different perspective, and it's heightened intelligence that we get to the point that once that is been completed, that's not the goal to complete that. Then what? Then what happens after? Because that's the threshold of what we're crossing into.
Yeah, yeah. And that I mean, for certain parts of the spiritual journey, it absolutely feels heavy, doesn't it? It feels like it's work, right?
Mhm.
And you're always coming up against a new obstacle or new wall. And that's when you're learning everything. You learn always the most important things that your soul has literally come here to learn through those tough times. And when you're challenged to overcome fears, to overcome yourself, to just make it through, survive a certain difficult era. But then there's always points in your journey where it's like things clear a bit, right? And it's like you've been climbing a mountain and now you've gotten to a plateau. And that's when you're being challenged to step into a new version of self that actually has integrated all of that wisdom that you learned during the difficult times. And that's when you become on a much more potent, more direct, more powerful scale, a contributor
Mm-hmm.
in real ways
Yeah.
to the Ascension. We're all contributing no matter what. Before I was awake, before you were awake, before any of us were spiritually awake, we were transmitting codes into the grid. Just being a starseed, even in other lifetimes where they're very kind of disconnected in that crown chakra, and they're hedonistic or really stuck in a dogmatic paradigm of religion. Even then, there was some sort of code transmission, but on a level like this, where then it opens up. It's when that barrier membrane at the top of our crown chakra, which is where those upper the 8th, 9th, 10th chakras are. There's this barrier membrane, and it starts to dissolve during the Ascension lifetime, and that's when we start to remember who we were as a star being. It might come first as just a feeling, and then you find content like this and you figure it out, a feeling, and then maybe actually re-experiencing like we're doing today, being in Lemuria, Atlantis, etc. Right? Remembering and reactivating gifts, whether it's healing with your hands, right? Whether it's being telepathic, whether it's being telekinetic, whether it's an ability to see things that others can't, whether it's an ability to communicate with spirits, seeing spirits, seeing all the things that most people don't see, right? That sort of stuff, if you were in Lemuria and Atlantis, you definitely did. If you're Starseed, you absolutely have done that and way more off planet. And the exciting thing is that you get to reactivate that in a very physical 3D body, which is incredibly difficult. And it's one of the reasons you literally came here, is for that challenge of becoming a master of the spiritual world while in a very dense body.
Yeah. Oh my God, the opportunities are amazing. Yo, I'm going to start promoting y'all to panelists here in a second. I love your shirt and your background, by the way. It's so awesome.
Oh,
So
good.
freaking awesome. No, fun, guys. And as I'm promoting some people in panelists and we start taking live calls, talk to us about Orion now. And
Yeah.
also just for some perspective, y'all, I've been getting a lot of information lately about Sirius B specifically. I've
Yeah.
had before from Sirius, of course, my Lyran connection and Pleiadian connective and Nectarian and Andromedan and all these different things. We're popping in different ways. So don't be surprised that that consciousness is awakening for you, even as we have these types of conversations as it comes in. But if you have deeper questions about that, Matthew John is like amazing, amazing to address what's awakening and you're remembering in that. As I'm promoting people over here, Matthew, tell us more about the significance of Orion right now.
Yeah. Okay. I really wanted to make sure I included Orion in today's class because it is intimately tied into the experience of Lemuria and Atlantis. So, a little history on Orion's belt, galactic history. One of the most important events to ever occur in our Milky Way galaxy's history is what's called the Orion Wars. The Orion Wars were a very dark time when draconian beings coming from Draco, which is the snake constellation, arguably those draconian beings, not I would say it is reality, are still in a way energetically imprinted and in charge of planet Earth, which is why we continue to see, as we all know, such a dark, greedy, monstrous capitalistic system continue to seemingly evolve and get even worse on the planet. That's a draconian reptilian consciousness, that imprint. That particular group, during the time of the Galactic Wars, went around and were conquering all sorts of very innocent planets. One of the most potent places that this took place was in Orion's belt, where, in The Empire Strikes Back, right, when, they're holding Princess Leia on the ship and they literally blow up her planet with the Death Star. That's pretty much what they were doing. They were going around in Orion's belt and just out of pure greed and a desire for power, were blowing up planets, innocent planets, and they were also just basically the planets they didn't grow up. They would go and hijack them and take them over, take over the governments, enslave the people, torture the people, set up these prison camps. It was horrible, horrible stuff. And those of us that have Orion in our starseed lineage, meaning our soul, our true galactic soul, at one point or another was incarnated in Orion's belt. And I'm like that. Many of us on this call, that's why you're here, you hold that karma, whether you are a victim of your planet getting blown up, whether you're a victim of the Draconians just taking over your planet, maybe they murdered you, maybe they murdered your family, maybe they did horrible things to you. Well, that's held within you. That's held within your energy field, even being an earth being now, because even though you're an earth being, your soul is still that galactic soul. So Orion starseeds, it's pretty common that so that happened, that terrible experience happened in Orion's belt. And what was suggested by the Pleiadians was a great way to very quickly heal and alchemize this. And when I say quickly, I mean in galactic time, because in galactic time, a lifetime here is like a second, right? It's nothing, right? A quick way to heal this karma is to go to Earth and to experience the end of Lemuria, and or to experience the other side of being one of the perpetrators of violence and manipulation in Atlantis. I've had a lot of people over the years, a lot of them already knew, actually almost all of them already knew, and they just went for me for confirmation, that they in Atlantis worked as scientists in these dark laboratories of mind control and of developing weapons that were used to destroy the planet. And they, some of them say, like, told me, like, I still feel this guilt in this lifetime. And of course, I explained to them it wasn't you. It was a version of you that you had to play because you had this experience in Orion's belt. That's why you're attempting to alchemize it, right? So what's significant about Orion is personally, if we look at our own personal karma, is if you were an Orion starseed, you probably were in Lemuria and or Atlantis, and you wanted to experience in a really potent way this sort of genocidal type karmic experience. And you may have also experienced military lifetimes or genocidal experiences outside of the context of Lemuria and Atlantis on Earth. The whole game is you have to re-experience, okay, coming from a slightly higher density, which is Orion's belt, but not much higher than Earth, still in that third density, just a little towards the upper echelon of it, coming even lower. Earth is a part of a handful of planets that is at the lowest possible vibration that you can have a third density experience in the Milky Way galaxy. So coming even lower as an Orion starseed, anytime you have to heal something that's really traumatic, it's faster to go lower and to re-experience it. It's like in Star Trek when they would go to the holodeck to have certain experiences. Captain Picard would go experience this romance with a woman in Paris, and it was important for him to heal his heart, and his romance with the lady on the ship, right? That sort of thing. Going into a lower dimension, which is kind of like a holographic experience, because in reality, you're up here and you're pretending to be down here. It's the fastest way to heal it. So you came from Orion, you had those tough experiences. Now you're on the other side of it because you're in the Ascension lifetime as we enter into the age of Aquarius. And because of that, it's just about healing whatever remnants of that remain. And then, as we talked about, stepping into that version of self that is the service worker for the Ascension.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the major aspects that a lot of people are healing, especially empaths, really sensitives, so aware of the harm that can be caused by other people's actions from those lifetimes is really a fear of our own power and what we're
Yeah.
capable of if we step into it. So those of us who subvert our power and rather give it to someone else or really hold our anger greatly inside and let it develop into even health issues like cancer as we repress that information. Um, it's significant. And again, what becomes available to heal through the awareness of knowing some of those origins, where we've traveled to get to here, can bring significant shifts in the quality of our lives, how we show up, not just for boundaries, but standards that we choose to create from now. And I think it's very impactful for our type of communities, Matthew, because there's really we want to flow in the feminine energy, and I understand the rising of the feminine, of course, and what's happening through the matriarchy in these particular ways for men and women. But we can't deny the power. We can't deny the essence of the root of that truth in ourselves. And when we can bring that back into balance, which is, I believe, a lot of us are doing in this lifetime, if we're brave enough to stand toe to toe with it and believe that now we're not going to destroy worlds, but we're actually here to bring the healing of what happened in the past.
A
It's
thousand
tremendous.
percent.
Yeah.
1,000%. I agree with everything you said. And it's actually really interesting because this most recent full moon, which happened the day after the solstice, being in Cancer, right? Anytime we have a Cancer Capricorn full moon, the idea is to experience that balance between the feminine and the masculine. Cancer is the feminine, the divine feminine. Capricorn, we could say, is the divine masculine, right? And well, Capricorn it can also be play the dark masculine because it's Saturn,
Right.
right? It's both. It's both sides of that coin. And same with Cancer. Cancer can also play the repressed feminine, which is afraid to step into its power, or or maybe is literally being abused or taken advantage of. Like that would be the shadow aspect of Cancer, right? But we're on this most recent full moon. Not only, it was a very powerful because it was the day after the solstice. Is the first of two consecutive full moons in Capricorn, which is very rare, right? The next full moon coming up is another full moon in Capricorn, because this one was at the first degree, that one will be the last degree. And whenever you have a full moon, the first or last degree, it's extremely amplified. And then you had this grand cross between the sun, the moon, Black Moon Lilith, which represents the repressed feminine. Black Moon Lilith is complex, but one of the things she represents is that aspect of the feminine that's been, stepped on. It's that creepy mural in the Denver airport with the military, Nazi looking guy stepping on like stepping on children, right? That's one aspect of Black Moon Lilith. It's that repressed divine feminine that's trying to rise up but keeps getting beat down by the patriarchy, right? And then Neptune on the other side, exalted in the final, not only the final degree, but right towards the end of its time in its home sign. So super amplified. And Neptune being about discernment of information, being about the throat chakra, right? What are we able to express and what are we afraid to express? Fears, right? Neptune is the home of fears. So they were all creating this really potent grand cross right on top of the full moon. So this is exactly what we're working on now and over the next few weeks, is whatever those wounds of the feminine and of being afraid of our power and being afraid of the power that the masculine yields and just anyone yields, right? Which is Pluto as well in astrology. Whatever those wounds with power, we are alchemizing those in order to balance the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah. Well, and I also like the Lilith energy that comes in because it's also embracing the wild feminine that's like it's ready to be
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? It's ready
Yeah.
to be unleashed. And when we get to that place as a collective, we just want to allow ourselves to be manipulated in the ways that we've been controlled and manipulated before. It's that energy unleashed in alignment with a benevolent energy really knows how to be a wild representative
Yes.
for truth, for
It's a
expansion.
very 1960s energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Very 60s energy. It's a sexual revolution. It's music. It's dancing. It's anarchy, but in a good way. It's not anarchy in a violent way. It's anarchy in a, hey man, let's just chill out, right? And just
It's
enjoy the
psychedelic,
music,
exploring
man, right?
consciousness, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But it's so needed because
Yeah.
so much of most of our planet, we're stuck in these really rigid schedules that are based on survival. And that new Lemuria, like I was talking about, that communal type living, that is that energy,
Yeah, yeah.
that wild feminine.
hmm Yeah, it's amazing times that we're in. Matthew, we've got to get to some live Q&A. We're going to go through the special offer, y'all. There's sessions in there, live courses, amazing courses that really help to integrate during the times. We'll get to the special offer in a little bit, but I want to start with some Q&A, Matthew. So,
Yeah.
first caller, Samantha, let's go to you. Welcome to the call. And if you guys can find where to unmute your microphone, that'd be wonderful.
There we go.
Hello.
Got it. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. So I am not one of the people on the call who has a lot of information about this. This is all very new to me. And I'm fascinated by what you're saying. And I'm also feeling like I might be such a newbie to incarnations and everything else that none of this really applies to me. So I was just kind of wondering if there's a way to tell, if there's a simple way
Yeah.
to figure out.
Yeah.
If
So I understand why you feel that way. And this is how myself and everyone that I've worked with over the years has felt at the very early stages of the awakening. When you're first starting to come across this type of information on videos, books, etc., and at first it seems a bit out there or a bit foreign or a bit too advanced, but what happens is as time goes on, you'll have these spontaneous unlockings of, and they're energetic unlockings. They're like, I was talking about that barrier membrane that we all carry, and think about, like, for most people, you can imagine there's all these like padlocks around their energy field that is keeping them tied into that rigidity of the life that they know, right? And we talked about that. But what happens during the ascension is spontaneously these locks start to unlock, and you start to at first find the information, maybe not resonate with it, but give it another couple months, years, and as time goes on, you start to really feel, oh yeah, now I really do feel it. So what I can give you right now is the intellectual side, the understanding of where my guides can show me that you're from and what you need to know. They first showed me that you had incarnations in both Lemuria and Atlantis. In Lemuria, they were showing me a particular incarnation as a woman, and they're showing it to me right now, where you're raising a family, you were living in this beautiful, beautiful communal living type situation where you're growing your own food. I see this vision of you making these sculptures, like out of the clay with your kids, and then you're like adding in crystals that your kids went and got from the river, and it like creates a sparkle, and then you're teaching the kids how to actually like move these sculptures with their mind. And then and that's just one lifetime. You've had 4 in Lemuria, and in Atlantis I can see 2 lifetimes are showing me. One was someone who was wore like a suit and tie, a man, to work, and was working for some corporation, and it was kind of a modern day type life that a lot of people live, like a New York City type life, and it was a bit closed down spiritually. And then another life where you were the wife of someone who was really high ranking in this particular corporation. One thing about Atlantis is everything was corporate. So medical healing devices, medical devices, time travel, teleportation, space travel, everything was corporatized as it is in the modern day. SpaceX, Elon Musk, right? Everything is corporatized. And you were the wife of some man who was like a time travel, high up in some time travel company that would go not just time travel, but also space travel. Anyways, that might seem a bit foreign at this point. Come back to it years later. But from the stars, I can see you're from Sirius, you're from Orion, you're from Lyra, you're from the Pleiades, your soul originally being from the Andromeda Galaxy. So again, that's the knowing side. I can't make you feel it, but give it time, and I bet you will come back to this.
Yeah, I can give you a
Excellent.
perspective of something that on how this activated for me, I'll call it. Because I'll call it the period where the dam just broke open and I started flooding in Nalti's consciousness and started having visions and guides coming in. It was quite spectacular, of something that I used to glimpse in life. But it was many years into it, and it was probably a little over 8 years ago. I was living here on the island. That's how I know the time frame. Um, I started getting information, and it happened like during a spring and summer, where for a month and a half, all of a sudden the Pleiadian energy started coming into me. And I always thought that people that talked about it was like, that's interesting. That's great that they're having that experience, but I'm not. I'll just hang over here in the Christed energy with Mary Magdalene and with Jesus and with the Great White Brotherhood or whatever, Buddha, those things that were resonating for me. That's why I started the call. Sometimes we wake up from that heart space. And if you think about that Christed consciousness, it's very much that heart space that starts to activate. And then the people that come from the galactic, they come in with an awareness of that Christed energy that's also elevating throughout, but they kind of like spiral down to it, and the heart energy kind of spirals up to the galactic. But there is an intersection that happens from my experience, and it's profound. And I find that if we don't judge and just be in our own flow and don't condemn something just because we don't understand it, that it gives it an opportunity to inform us as we're ready to be informed. And it's great that you showed up for this call, because there must be something in you that says, hold on a second, there's got to be something here. And to be receptive about having to force anything or needing to be convinced, I think is the best thing. But it is working through you without a doubt. And now we're going to the next caller, and it's a special offer. But I'm with Matthew. I don't think this is your first rodeo. I do think that you have a lot of galactic. I can see it, but that's not for me to impose onto you.
Right.
But I would embrace it rather than pushing it off because you don't know. And be curious. Be curious.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
And,
Thank you
Samantha, if your curiosity continues to get piqued here, which I imagine it will, the special offer, both of them have recorded classes. They're 2.5-hour classes connecting with Lemuria and connecting with Atlantis, where I go super in depth. This is a short call tonight, but I go super in depth into everything I know that happened in those civilizations. And we do an astral group journey, which, watching the recording, you join right in with the journey that we did live at one point. And it'll, if your third eye and your visualization capacities are opening up, you will go on that journey and you'll see. So I'd recommend either of the packages because they have those.
They're amazing.
Great.
Amazing. All right, Samantha, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to get into special offer in a little bit. But Renee, I'm guided to call on you. Welcome to the call.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hi there.
Hi there. I am, in the last year, I actually uncovered my origin, which is as an ancient being that has a conscious memory of existing in a multiversal expression, and then it drops down through all the galactic wars. It seems to be that I carry the memory of all the major galactic wars, which is a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
So any type of, so I wasn't, this is my first human incarnation, and yet for a long time I really had holographic memories that I would say were inserted regarding lifetimes in both Atlantis and Lemuria. I'm curious how or if that is resolved for me, since I wasn't here during that time frame. And is that just a result of the Orion Wars and the trauma I carry from that?
I'm curious, how do you know the difference between like holographic memories being inserted, as you termed it, versus like physical incarnations?
It's a good question. It's challenging for me. I can hear it.
Okay.
It's more of a harmonic.
Okay. Regardless, I mean, I would look deeper into why you have such specific memories of Lemuria and Atlantis, because let's just say that first of all, if you're here in this reality right now, it's possible that you came here first and then in the future you're going back, right? That's always a possibility. It doesn't have to be linear. And the other possibility is that maybe you did have physical incarnations as well, and it doesn't have to be the first lifetime. Maybe it's your third, maybe it's your fourth, right? But I do feel that you came here for a select, very crucial lifetimes, whether they're physical or holographic, not just Lemuria and Atlantis, but particular indigenous experiences. I get that vision as well. And to me, I can see you having a particular experience of being literally a part of a government on an Orion planet. And you were in these meetings discussing what was about to happen, and then your planet was destroyed.
Renee, I'm curious. I want to ask a question for you,
Sure.
Renee, and it's for all of us, truly. So when we have these experiences and like Renee, these planetary wars and these cosmic wars and being involved in it, and any one of our experiences, there's a degree of separation and, if you will, a soul loss, an action taken ability that we're not carrying in this incarnation because we're still feeling the remnants of the disassociation that happened in those lifetimes, or the repercussions of the actions that happened. How can we bring back in the action taken ability into this lifetime and not have to dwell in the history of those experiences?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I love that question. So, and that really plays into, like, astrologically speaking, the nature of our relationship with Pluto, right? Pluto being the home of power. And for any of us that have those sorts of experiences in our past, like you mentioned, ultimately, like you talked about before, wherever we're afraid to step and take power in this life, that's exactly where we have to. Because if we think of this life as like it's a little diorama, it's a little playpen, right? You know, remember we were all kids once, and we had little play areas where we'd play with our stuffed animals, our toys, and we'd create these little realities. Well, the macro into the micro into the macro. So we're playing around with these experiences, and it may not seem that significant in the whole, the whole story of you as a galactic soul. For example, you're working a job, right? And you're constantly getting falsely accused of doing something by a particular coworker, and you've been always afraid to speak up for yourself. And it takes you back to memories of being bullied when you were in school, or your big sister getting something and you didn't, and you couldn't speak up. Wherever you're afraid to step and take your power, that's where you have to, and that's how it overcomes. Because then doing that in this little playpen that is this one lifetime, that energy is now reflected out the nature of quantum physics, right? And affecting all of your past. And it doesn't change the Akashic records of what happened if you were in the Orion Wars, if you were in Lemuria, if you were in Atlantis. It doesn't change the literal history, but whatever is kept stored in your energy field locked, it releases it out. So that, I love that you asked it like you did, because that, I think, is one of the main things we should have people remember from tonight's call, is that it is about taking your power anywhere you've been afraid to. And of course, there's a line. It doesn't mean taking your power for the fun of it, taking power out of greed, taking power out of a desire to harm someone, because that's exactly what the dark side of Pluto, that's exactly what the dark beings did in the Orion Wars that Renee remembers, right? So it's finding that middle ground, and it's about releasing, for those that have taken power unnecessarily, inappropriately, it's about releasing whatever we're holding against them. One of the principles of us being in this pyramidical structure on the planet, where it's this top-down governments and the beings up there, the Illuminati and whoever's above them, as long as we hold resentment in place towards them, well, we're holding a cord in place. So whether it's the government, or whether it's your father that harmed you, or your ex-husband, or a boss, or whatever, we have to let go of all resentments in order for us to heal both sides of power and find the middle road.
Amazing.
Mm.
Renee, thank you so much for bringing this into the conversation. It's really important. And again, it's a huge takeaway for any type of healing that y'all do. So we're coming back into this. And how do we gain that authority back? And authority, it's the story that we're writing for ourselves. And then what do we do with that authority? That's how we're choosing to lead, giving from our overflowing cups, creating the world that we know we're here to live and to live a legacy for. And so it's no mistake that we're awakening to the memories of these other existences because we're bringing them back home and we're bringing ourselves back to wholeness so that we can create from the consciousness of that wholeness. It's powerful. It's powerful. Renee, thank you for everything that you've done and all these different experiences, and for bringing it into the now, because from your healing, we all heal. So appreciate you. See you. Yes. Everybody, we're going to get to a special offer. We're going to take more Q&A afterwards as well, but we have to go deep with this because what Matthew's offering here, it's robust and it is deep and it's so healing and it's a lot of fun too. And you get a session as well if you go in package B. But the link for the special offer is in the chat box. Click on that blue link, or if you don't see the blue link, open up a new tab and type in beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Matthew 33. And it'll allow you to open up that special offer page. All right, Matthew, guide everybody to what they're going to receive.
Yeah, so you are going to get to be a part of my Ascending as One program. It's my most popular spiritual mentoring program. We've got people from all around the world that are joining in, and it's such a great experience. You are going to get to join in on these live classes, and these are full-length 3-hour live classes on weekends. I try to put it at a time that works for most people, 4 p.m. in New York, 1 p.m. in Los Angeles. If you can't make it live, no problem. We post the recording right after. It's super easy to just click the play button and stream the recording. So the first hour of each of these calls, as you know, we've talked a lot of astrology tonight, is about astrology. I go over the macros, the big picture astrology, and then all the way down to the day-to-day, what are the planets doing every day for the week to come? So how can you know how to plan your life around what the planets are doing? Because it's really cool. Tuesday, there's a lot of these squares, and it's going to be a really rough day, and you should be a little bit careful. Don't want to get into arguments or step on toes. And then Wednesday is this creative, wonderful, dreamy day, great for doing channeling and journaling and connecting with animals. And I go over that for each day of the week to come, and you get downloadable notes for the astrology and for the class. So the first hour is astrology. The second and third hours, we have a particular brand new healing topic for each week. Starting with August 3rd, we've got our True Lionsgate activation call. The True Lionsgate is actually on August 3rd, not 8th. I'll explain to you in that call why. August 4th, we do healing your crown chakra. If you're able to open up the crown chakra, it opens up all sorts of psychic and healing abilities, and it gives you the opportunity to connect with your guides anytime you want, or to connect with other people's guides and be able to give them the information that their guides are trying to get to them. Because your crown is open, you're able to give it to them. August 18th, then we're doing our Stepping into Your Highest Purpose call, which that one I'm already starting to plan. I'm super excited for that. And October, okay, we have Healing Your Masculine Father Wounds on October 6th. October 13th, Refining Your Intuition. And then October 20th, Tarot 101. I'm also a master tarot reader and teacher, and I love teaching the tarot. So you get all those live classes, you get the downloadable recordings, the downloadable notes, plus you get a bunch of recorded classes. You get Understanding Your Starseed Origins. I go over all of the common traits of all the most common star places that you can come from in the stars, from the Pleiades to Orion to Sirius to Arcturus to Lyra to the Mantis people to Andromeda to the Ascension, so many more. You get the Connected with Lemuria call and the Connected with Atlantis call. Again, we take a deep dive into each of those civilizations individually, and we take a journey, an astral journey to each of those civilizations as well. And you get Clearing Your Inner Blocks, Activate Your Maximum Financial Abundance. Because to be very honest, one of the ways for almost all of us that our soul is trying to get us to take our power back in this life is financially as well. Because if we're living in constant day-to-day, trying to always catch up with every bill and, how am I going to pay the taxes and this, right? It keeps us in those energetic cords to the beings above us. And I teach you the energetics of how to manifest financial abundance in this life as I have. So that's all package A. Package B, you get all of that plus a private reading with me. These are in-depth private readings. You can ask me anything on these calls, but some of the most common things that people ask me are, am I a starseed? Where am I from in the stars? Was I in Lemuria? Was I in Atlantis? Show me some of my other past lives. Take a look at my natal chart. I am an astrologer. I love taking a look at your chart. Show me my future with a particular relationship, my soul contract with a particular relationship. Show me my future as far as my purpose, my career. Who am I supposed to be in this life? And I can go in any direction you want in those readings. I call them the Ask Matthew Anything readings. You get also those 2 bonus VIP only live calls. August 31st, we have the How to Do Trance Channeling. Okay? Some of you know I am a trance channeler. If you've been on our recent BTO episodes, you saw a little preview of the Syrian channeling. I do channel the Syrians once a month in Ascending as One. But on that particular August 31st call, I'm teaching you how to trance channel as well. And then that October 12th call is all about ancient mysteries. We're going to go into the Tartarian Empire. We're going to go into the pyramids and Serpent Mound. Jesus, was he real? Was he not? What's the deal with him? Is the moon an artificial satellite? Is it not? All of the ancient mysteries that I have gone in depth into, both in books and literally traveling the world over the past 15 years. So that's going to be a super fun call. And the Syrian channeling segment is awesome because you get to actually ask the Syrians your questions. If you're there for the end of the call, usually the last 45 minutes, we do the channeling. Just type in the chat, whatever you want to ask the Syrians. I'll open my eyes once in a while. I read the chat and I ask them and they answer almost every question. So you get those VIP only calls as well, and also a whole bunch of other recorded ones, the Illusion of Ego. We've got Intro to Mediumship. Okay. So not only the trance channeling call, but mediumship as far as connecting with particular loved ones on the other side, whether your loved ones or other people's loved ones, particular spirit guides, particular angels or archangels you want to learn how to channel. I can, as long as your third eye and your crown are open enough, they don't have to be fully open, and that crown chakra call will help the crown to fully open if you need it to. But as long as you have a bit of an opening, I can teach you how to do mediumship, and I can teach you how to do trance channeling, and it doesn't take a 6-month-long course. I can teach it to you in a very short period of time, and then I give you the tools you need to practice on your own after and develop that, if you want to, even into a professional skill. Because how cool is that? And if that's a part of what your soul is trying to have you bring through and become in this life, then these classes can help you get there. Okay, before you go out and spend, a ridiculous amount of money on a long, year-long course or mentorship program, try this first. I'm telling you, I know every shortcut because I have been practicing this for almost 2 decades, and I have taught it to hundreds and hundreds of people personally. So I know how the nuances of how it works a little bit different for everyone. Everyone's mechanisms, psychic mechanisms work a little bit different. And I teach you how to understand how yours work so that right after those calls, you can start practicing mediumship and trance channeling. We also have Understanding and Seeing Your Past Lives, Healing the Inner Child, and my ebook as well. So jam-packed messages.
Super jam-packed, y'all. Package A, the first one with the live calls by itself is $97. Amazing for that. If you want the private session, these other recordings, the other live calls, this is jam-packed. We went through it. That's $177. There's a 2-payment option. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee on all of this. Of course, if you have your session, it's considered paid, y'all. Really, you're going to get so much. But we make it a no-brainer so that you guys can really dive in and activate just what's ready to be remembered. So y'all take advantage of the special offer. Again, the link is in the webinar chat. Linda says he really answers you individually. It's so good. So there's a lot of
Linda. I worked with Linda recently.
Yeah. So it's absolutely amazing.
And John, you were on. You joined one of our Ascending as One calls in April.
I joined the drumming.
Sonic
I joined the
call.
drumming circle, which was
Yeah, was it
amazing.
fun? Isn't it
Oh,
a fun group?
yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, I had so much fun being on there. Um, it's fun. It's informative. It's activating.
Yeah.
It's activating, y'all, and
That's why it's called Ascending as One. The idea is to bring people together because we're doing it virtually from around the world. I have people from every continent that joins in this group, and we're taking our particular experiences and our skills, and we're fusing it together to ascend as one. There's a great Telegram group that you get access to with the program that you can chat every day. People are chatting back and forth, making friends from all around the world, and that's one of the coolest parts is the community aspect of the Ascending as One group.
amazing. All right, y'all take advantage of it. It's there for you as a member of BTO. You're welcome. Let's continue here. All right, let's go to some more questions. Carol, welcome to the call. It's good to see you.
Can you hear me now?
We can,
Yeah, we got you.
I can't see myself on here, but
You're on.
okay. So
You're on.
I'm really clear that I'm from Lemuria, and
Yep.
and I just want to know if you have just something, a reading on me or something. I don't have a specific question, but everything resonates with me as far as Lemuria. I mean, I feel like, why am I here on this planet?
I know.
Yeah.
I see that. I see a particular Lemurian lifetime where you were a woman. You were around 6'2", pretty tall and pretty strong. And you had, I think, 4 children. You loved to make art. You were a wonderful artist. And you were also very much in touch with the dolphins. So in Lemuria, there were mer people. And John, by the way, just to bring some back, you had mentioned Sirius B.
Right.
The reason Sirius B, I think, is coming so much into your awareness lately, first of all, remembering back to the readings we done, I do believe you had incarnations, that you had experiences there.
I've had experiences in lots of different star systems.
Yeah, lots of different places, but that was one of them.
Yeah,
that was one of
sure.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And Sirius B is where I'm from, and they're mostly water planets.
Yeah.
So whatever connection with water that's coming up for you and for a lot of people now, especially with just being in Cancer season, we talked about the emergence of the divine feminine, which is represented by the element of water, right? So Sirius B is the home of the dolphins, the whales, right? And the archetype of the mer people. And the mer people were literally there off the coast of Lemuria, off the coast of Atlantis, our oceans used to be filled with mer people. And unfortunately, through the end of Lemuria and Atlantis, through the Great War that happened and the shifting of the tectonic plates and the explosions and the atomic bombs and all of that, it basically destroyed the civilizations of the mer people. But going back to you, I see that as that woman, you would go out to the ocean and the dolphins would come right up and you would pet them and you would talk to them, and the mer people would come up and you would share knowledge, you would share different techniques, you would bring them your art and they would bring you their art. So I wonder that connection, if you have that connection with art and water in this life.
Not so much water but since the pandemic started, I lost my work. I was doing massage therapy in hospitals, and then I was teaching yoga, and then my whole life is kind of on Zoom now, but I've been doing creativity, a lot of art, and more like intentional creativity, spiritually minded creativity, and I'm really loving it. And every once in a while I'll make a mark or make a symbol and I go, I've done this before. Like it feels very familiar.
Yeah. And before Lemuria, you were a Pleiadian. And I would say the whole curriculum for you now and over the next 10 years is what we talked about in today's call. It's the emergence of that divine feminine energy. Your soul was pushing you out of working in the medical system so that you can really have those more feminine yin, skills come out. And, energy healing will go along with that as well. And it probably already is. And I would say there's some aspect of reconnecting with the water that maybe you've lost for whatever reason in this lifetime. There's some sort of past life on Earth. It could have been like a drowning at sea or a shipwreck or something. I'm picking up.
Yeah, probably.
I think there was a drowning at sea in a different life.
Yeah, I have a fear of. I don't particularly like going in the ocean.
Yeah, it happened out in the ocean.
And when I was young, a child taking swimming lessons, I never could jump off the diving board. So
that's on the curriculum for you to heal over the next few years now. Okay. You have to alchemize that. Think of it as coming into balance between all four elements.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Matthew, one thing Carol mentioned, and I think this is important to bring up because for my sake, because I'm having an experience with it, because I do think it's universal for many of us. You mentioned a drawing of the symbols and coming in. There's light language that's wanting to come through me. I keep it private or in very small circles when these dialects come in. When others are speaking real cosmic and galactic light language, I know the interpretations of that, probably being an ambassador from so many different star systems. I recognize that in myself as well. But the expression of it in this human form, wanting to be vocalized and wanting to be admitted for others to benefit from, is the best way that I can describe it, is becoming more alive. What do you attribute that to in so many of us?
I would take it back to just seeing life as a book. And, you're at that chapter where that particular aspect of you is the vocal aspect is ready to come out. So you just got to run with it. Okay. You got to run with it and see where it leads you.
You can relate to that, Carol. You're shaking your head.
Yeah. I can. I've been just vocalizing a lot every morning when I live by myself, and when I get up, I spontaneously just making noises and dancing around, and that's how I start my day.
Amazing.
And I've been doing some writing where it's people give, I don't know, it's a long story, but like doing a reading of oracle cards, and then you just write down words that come to you, and then I write a verse after that. But when I do that, I am like somewhere else.
You're in channel mode. That's amazing.
I'm like,
thank God for the feminine energy.
And so it's
yes,
really, yeah. I'm the happiest I've been in my life, even though, for people looking from the outside in, it's like, wow, she lives by herself. She's doesn't have a social life. She's, but I'm moving right along.
Amazing. Good. Blessings to you. Congratulations. And thank you for sharing. Yes.
Thank you.
Amazing. All right, let's continue. Let's go to Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hi, John. Hi, Matthew. How's everybody doing?
Hi. Hello. Great. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I have a specific question, but I guess I was kind of wondering if you see anything regarding my galactic kind of lineage, and then anything regarding any type of gifts that I may have.
So looking at your galactic lineage, I can see Orion, Sirian, Arcturian, Blue Avian. I'm just checking in if there's any more. Originally coming from the Andromeda galaxy. So an Andromeda soul that is that archetype of like the Milky Way galactic traveler. As far as particular gifts, writing, like written word, I can see a vision of a particular life here on Earth. It wasn't Lemuria or Atlantis. This was ancient Sumeria. I can see a particular being a man, and you were writing out very important, like there was someone in the room, another man, like a spiritual guru, dictating, and you were transcribing. And who knows, maybe this book is somewhere, some sort of ancient library that the U.S. government probably, when they went to Iraq in early 2000s, allegedly took all that stuff. Who knows? But but yeah, so that's one thing I want to point out to you is an inherent skill when it comes to using words, using written words in particular, and that can manifest as channeling. Okay, so that can manifest as opening yourself up. And if you're not super confident, join Ascending as One, do the trance channeling class, do the mediumship class. It'll help a lot. Do the crown chakra class, right? But opening yourself up to forming a channeling relationship, a written one, with a particular being that you've worked with. To me, it's an archangel. I get the vision of it being a particular archangel. I think you should find out who it is rather than me telling you. Although I can if you'd like, but I feel like I'm meant to tell you to find that on your own. Okay. And form that particular relationship, and then you'll find there's a particular star being as well that'll be another relationship. If this is a bit outside of what you've been doing, that's probably a good sign, because it's something that has been trying to find you. And just like what John mentioned, the light language really finding him now. And I think this is either finding you now or about to. And then you'll always also be really adept at working with crystals for the purposes of healing. That really comes from that Sirian self. The channeling is really the Arcturian self, because Arcturian starseeds make very good trance channels. They make very good Akashic Records readers, because the Arcturians are very much focused on using either sequences in music, sequences of frequency, or actually crafting. The Arcturians love crafting millions of different spoken and written languages just for fun, and cataloging. Like, the Arcturians have cataloged all the different languages that they found in the entire galaxy. So Arcturian starseeds it's a very Gemini vibration in Western astrology. So those are the two things I'd point you to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, because that's something I'm struggling with right now, is like my voice. And
yeah, and on a personal level, it'll help you to heal your own throat chakra, and it works both ways. You heal your own throat chakra, healing the stuff you've been through, and it really all boils down to forgiveness and letting go, and having the courage to step into your power where you need to, because as you repeatedly step into your power where you need to, the universe will stop bullying you in a way. However it's bullied you through the context of other people, that will stop when you finally fully step in that power. And then that throat chakra that's now more open links up with the crown chakra and gives you that ability to trans channel. But also, just by starting with that, it also will help heal this.
Mm-hmm. One thing that Matthew does so beautifully, and it's in celebration again to this wild feminine energy that I was talking about earlier. It's like, again, when we say we've been struggling through something, how have we been approaching the challenge? And if we're approaching it from the pyramid hierarchy, again, the patriarchy, the struggling through, working hard, warring through it to get to where we need to be, we're creating resistance with resistance in different ways, even though we seem like we're making progress. What Matthew does so beautifully, his elements of play and curiosity and awe and wonder activate those pearls inside of us, so that the receptivity that is available, so we can actually hold and navigate that consciousness. It's just amazing. The way that Matthew teaches is so fun, so activating, so open, so immersive and experiential. And if you've been curious about how to open that, and you want to be with someone who can hold that type of field, and if not Matthew, find someone that holds that type of field for you, that playful, the dancing, the creative, like really get into that. Get away from linear, unless it's really activating your heart. If it's running from your mind and you're in a linear frame, pause. If you're in a structure, a path that's very hard expansive, that's wonderful. But be aware of where it's running from, so you can really optimize your resources, your energy, and really bring alive from a place of vitality instead of a place of striving. And so, yeah, I can't recommend enough the way that Matthew teaches in that way.
And in package B, we have the healing your inner child call. And like, you know, any of us that have a throat chakra blockage, there's going to be an aspect of a wounded inner child within. And through healing the inner child and at the same time stepping more into what you're so good at, and I'm good at too, thank you, for recognizing that, is that play energy. And that together not only heals the inner child, which is the lower chakras, but it activates the throat.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So Amber, no matter what you do, play, and play some more, please.
Thank you both. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for being on the call. Absolutely. All right, Lisa, welcome to the call. And I love all of y'all. Your energy, everybody. It's I don't even choose anymore. I just kind of go randomly because it's Anyway, hi Lisa.
First I had to make sure I was the only Lisa here.
You are.
I see that. All right. I hope that I put this in the right words. Recently, I'm going to say this quickly. Recently, I had a mini Akashic Records reading that really just focused on my soul's origins and my centers of training. I resonated with it, but only to a degree, because I've had a lot of resonance with Pleiades and Lemuria, and this reading revealed to me that my soul's origin was like only about maybe 6,000 years ago, and primarily,
I wouldn't take that piece in particular as that. It doesn't even make any sense. So,
okay, and the place was Alpha Fornicus.
I have no idea. I've never even heard of that. It wasn't Alpha Centauri?
No.
Yeah, I've never heard of whatever. All right, I wouldn't put too much stock into this particular reading. Just for fun, would you like me to ask my guys to show me what they see?
Sure, because I am actually getting messages and it just didn't resonate. And so I just wanted to ask.
Trust yourself. First and foremost, even as you asked Matthew, first, trust your own inner knowing. That's so important right now.
Yeah.
So bravo to you for being, I don't know how this sits, and not taking it on. That's just first step right there and part of your mastery. Congratulations, and way to question, and thank God for that. And Matt,
a huge part of my development, and I share this in that Refining Your Intuition class, which we have in Package B, was getting a series of really crappy readings that I paid a lot of money for back during my Dark Night of the Soul in like 2016. Like $1,000 on the credit card, and I got literally nothing out of it except for one thing, was the realization that ultimately I needed to become my own psychic. So that was my soul's way of pushing me into the next stage of my evolution as a teacher, as a healer, as a psychic, post my Saturn return, was to actually no longer rely on readings from others. Now, it doesn't mean, I will still get readings from others once in a while nowadays, but it's coming from a very different place.
Yeah.
Back during my Dark Night of the Soul, is coming from a place of mistrusting myself. And nowadays, if I get a reading from someone else, it's coming from a place of, I have a feeling on this and I trust this person and I want to get their reflection back to me, because they might add something to it that I wasn't really even considering, a different aspect of it. And it'll either be a good confirmation or it'll help me to reconsider. Oh, you know what? You're right. I didn't even think about that part of it. Let me go back to the drawing board, right? So, yes, trust yourself first and then open yourself up to receive, but ultimately come back to whatever feels right is what's true.
That is the reason I'm asking you a question now.
All right. So just for fun, let me take a look. All right, we're gonna see where Lisa's from in the stars. So I'm opening up. They show me a star map in my third eye. The first place that I am shown is the Pleiades. I can actually see in particular, looks like the star of Maya. So the star of Maya, that's where you directly, a planet around that star of Maya, you came directly from there into your Earth experiences, right? By the way, I do also get visions of being in Lemuria, but not Atlantis. You were in Lemuria, though, for 6 incarnations, is what I'm seeing. Other places you've been around, the Milky Way, Lyra. They show me a mantis, some mantis being experiences. And originally, you're coming from not the Andromeda Galaxy, but another one of the spiral galaxies that's relatively close to our Milky Way. It would be one of the M galaxies. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, those are around Gemini. But it would be one of the closer spiral galaxies, and I would look to the Gemini part of the sky. But as far as your closest connections, it's going to be the Pleiades by far. And then I would also look into the Lyran beings and the Mantis beings.
Interesting. Well, you'll see me again because I will be buying your package, but I'm coming out. I'm on my way out, and
You're playing with all this stuff, right? And a part of playing with all this stuff is, it can be a bit of a riddle. And like we talked about, especially with that Neptune exaltation and across from Black Moon Lilith, like that's a part of the riddle for everyone right now is discernment. So it's a great topic to bring up for everyone on today's show.
Well, thank you. And
thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing really quick?
Yeah.
I know there is one part of this that I really resonated with, and that was that it was a non-physical incarnation. Like many of my incarnations were non-physical.
Coming from what I can see, just because I know we got to go to the next caller, but from the particular galaxy that you come, the spiral galaxy, you're coming from what I would term as an 8th density experience, which is completely non-physical. So you have this collection of these probably hundreds of thousands of different lifetimes there, and as well in the Pleiades, not only playing as physical beings, but also as angelic beings in the Pleiades. So you have a whole collection of physical and non-physical lifetimes in your soul's experience.
All right. So then that would mean in this lifetime, I've healed MS, which would make sense for the difficulty in the physical body.
It sure would, yeah. You're meant to kind of merge those non-physical and physical experiences into the alchemy, like I mentioned before, of doing this all in the context of a physical body. So bravo.
Yeah,
you're doing exactly what your soul came here to do.
Great awareness as well. Great awareness.
Yeah.
All right, Amber. The link for the special offer is in the chat box for everybody. If you haven't signed up yet, take advantage of it. Thank you for coming on, love. It's so appreciated. Matthew, we've all gone through pictures of our family members and checked out our grandparents and maybe even great parents and aunts and uncles. And for a lot of us, those pictures are black and white, this nostalgia, but you feel like there's like that, like something gets activated in us just by being in that presence for a little bit. And it's like something snaps about who we are based on where we've been. And to play in these realms and in these activations, which are potent, because these are your cosmic and galactic lineages. These are just parts of your soul that you can't deny, that are beyond the blood and physical form.
Yeah, and both are relevant. And who's to say, I mean, the way I see it, they're equally relevant, because you as a soul are here intentionally playing in the Earth game. So you intentionally choose your particular genetic lineage. And you can learn so much by learning about your ancestors that carry the same DNA. And, that's like when we do our Healing Your Masculine Father Wounds call on October 6th, what we're doing is we're going back into our ancestral genetic history, and whatever wounds we carry that come from the masculine, we're healing that in that particular call. And however you go about healing this stuff, it's important to look at where you came from. You're ultimately meant to be the leader of your genetic lineage. You're meant to be the spiritual leader of your genetic lineage. So whatever point in their spiritual evolution that your parents, their evolution stopped, your grandparents' evolution stopped, great grandparents stopped, so on and so forth, you're meant to go way further in this life. And just as the principle of when you heal something, alchemize something, we were talking about in the context of Lemuria and Atlantis, the law of quantum physics, right? That's, non-locality, that healing and alchemy is being sent out to all your other past lives. Same thing, it's being sent out back through your ancestral lineage and forward through your ancestral lineage as well. So it both the ancestral, the past life, and if you want to even make it a third category, the star lineage, they're all, I would say, of equal importance.
Yeah, I would say so also. And the implications of this, y'all, whether you realize it or not, what you're doing is you're claiming your divine leadership. You're claiming who you are. You're claiming your lineage and carrying it forward. You're claiming your legacy. It's powerful and it's exciting and it's awakening. And we've been waiting for this lifetime to be able to know in this particular way that we're not only capable of doing it, that we are doing it. And again, have teachers like Matthew coming on and share from his awareness and bring us sparking the memories and the cells that spark from the memories that we get to embody through these physical forms that we are. It's just so exciting to be alive. It's so exciting to be able to play with all of y'all. Matthew, it's so fun to play with you every time that you're on and we get to open these conversations. Thank you for thank you for putting that special, that amazing special offer together. Again, the link's still in the chat box, y'all. So if you want to click on it before we close down the call today, go ahead and click on it. Get your session with Matthew also for a small price more. You get that time with Matthew, and he covers so much in those calls. But again, the live calls, everything else that comes through, like Linda said, it's so generous. Matthew pretty much answers all the questions on there. Again, I can't recommend it enough. Y'all are amazing. Matthew, have a great trip going back home. I know you're calling us from your travels.
John, speaking of travels, do we have a minute to just mention Mount Shasta?
Let's talk about Mount Shasta. I'll be there in August, as a matter of fact, again.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about Mount Shasta.
And actually, you and I were there at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Doing similar shamanic work with different groups. And that was actually pretty exciting to know that. We were both energetically holding down that grid at the same time.
That was impressive. Yeah.
Right? But Mount Shasta, I would just, like, for those of you that haven't taken a pilgrimage there, if there's anywhere as a spiritual being, as a light worker, to go to in North America, like as a pilgrimage, it's Mount Shasta, because there is this fifth dimensional city of Telos that exists within Mount Shasta. And our group was a big part of our focus last month was actually in finding these entrances to Telos. We took the whole group to the entrance of Pluto's cave, which is this massive tunnel that was formed by lava that goes so deep down into the earth where there's literally zero light, where the temperature drops by like 35, 40 degrees from the outside temperature. It's so creepy in there, right? So we took the big group just to the entrance, but then we went as a smaller group the day after the full retreat. And we went as deep as we could possibly go, finding these entrances. And I was channeling through what the Telosians were telling me, about how their tunnels are right below, and about how, how they view us. And they have some consternations about having too much contact with us on the surface because of how violent our planet has become in recent memory, right? But Mount Shasta, it's the portal to that inner earth. And what happened at the end of Lemuria, real briefly, was those of us so Lemuria ended, as I mentioned, in this kind of fiery war, and it was very tragic. But those of us that wanted to continue on in that particular body we were in, the Pleiadians came down in their crafts and they offered to actually take us to Telos. And the beings, the fifth dimensional beings that still live to this day in Telos, a lot of them literally came from Lemuria, and they're still physically alive to this day, because there really isn't the experience of aging down there, because it is a literal fifth dimension, fourth density experience, right? So just if you feel you might be Lemurian, go to Mount Shasta or just connect astrally. Like anytime you're doing a mass meditation, we had the Disclosure Fest mass meditation last week, even though, you know, we weren't able to meet in person because of the wildfires, we still did it virtually. And I was, you know, Mount Shasta was one of the places I was particularly anchoring in. And it holds that legacy of Lemuria. So whether in person or astrally, you know, if you feel you might be Lemurian, and it literally, it's also the root chakra of planet Earth. So just by going there, it helps you to heal your root chakra just by physically being there. And also, you know, just realizing that the roots, if you trace it as far back as you can go on this planet, the roots of your root chakra trauma may very well come from the Lemurian experience, the end of Lemuria, and tracing it farther back, it may come from Orion. So all of those lines kind of are drawn and point to Mount Shasta as being the physical mecca of Lemuria and that connection with Orion as well. And John, I'd love to hear briefly, if you don't mind, your experience with that at Mount Shasta.
Well, Mount Shasta was interesting for a couple of different reasons. I'll be going on my third trip to Mount Shasta in August in the last year, and I knew that I was going to be in Mount Shasta in September, but I kept talking to my guides like, if you want me to be there, I'm not paying for it. You need to find a way to pay for the trip, get me there from Hawaii, pay for the lodging and all that, because I've been twice on guidance and I get it, but can you make it a little easier for me? And then an opportunity came in with these amazing light workers to go in, and there's actually a group of 100 of us that are meeting there. And if you're interested in joining that retreat, send me an email. I'm not organizing it, but I did get invited to speak and to perform a water ceremony there. That's very much connected to Telos, and also the connection into the Great White Brotherhood, and in particular Sanat Kumara, the Ancient of Days, and the 144,000 that we're bringing new consciousness to. But my experience when I was there with you, it was a deep portal there was an activating more into the galactic, and I was in a deep healing portal.
Oh yeah.
With my daughter. Yeah. So we were healing lineages of father, daughter, relational aspects, not just in this lifetime, but for my particular family lineage, and how that was awakening a shamanic component within herself that she had forgotten about, which also ties into the feminine awakening, again, into that wild, bikini feminine energy that as fathers, we're inviting our daughters to embrace and embody and to articulate from. And again, all this is attuned with what's being activated on those lands.
Yeah.
The wild waters that go through, the fire energy that's being activated, because it's all helping to crumble layers and veils of ignorance that we can't hold anymore. Not if we want this world to go in the way that we want it to go in. Yeah. Those of you who are carrying the torch of that light, carrying the torch of Ascension, carrying the torch of the exalted Atlantis, the exalted Lemuria. So we're actually at a choice point. So we're all guiding each other's back home, and we get to choose. Are we going to choose the truth, or we're going to choose the manipulation of truth? And it's up to you. It was up to my daughter. It was up to what we were imprinting in the land. There were those experiences there. So it's pretty powerful. And I was so grateful to be there with you at the time. It's like, we couldn't have planned that. We could have made that up. It was a last minute trip that I planned with my daughter, and wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your experience and what you and your daughter were doing. I love that. Just beautiful. And, you know, so that imprint, you know, anytime we go and we're going with a particular intention, like I brought a group of 20 people from around North America to Mount Shasta last month, and the main intentions were to activate the galactic connection. So we had so many experiences with the Pleiadians, you know, seeing ships, but also channeling experiences, and, you know, just them coming to people that were there, and also to activate people's spiritual gifts, whether it's healing, psychic skills, you know, telepathic skills or whatever. And that absolutely happened. And then there was another kind of unexpected, I did kind of expect it, but it wasn't the main intention, of people healing their relationships with each other especially people that came together, and also relationships that they had back home. So all of it was so beautiful, and just such a reminder of the power of going to the power points of the planet physically when you can. And I know some of you can't, and you do the best you can, and you can connect astrally anytime you want to these places. And that's like one of the great benefits of doing the Ascending as One group. You do the Connecting with Atlantis call, the Connect with Lemuria call, the Past Lives call, the Starseed call, right? Astrally, I'm having you travel to all these places.
Amazing, amazing. Again, so much that we're activating. And again, I love that you listen and get called to these places, Matthew. Again, it's like we keep activating and
and you and I will be together in Hawaii next year.
I'll be in Egypt with a big group, which we're going to film that experience in Egypt.
Next year, I'm talking next year.
Yeah, next year we'll be in Hawaii. So there's a lot coming through.
Yeah, you and I will. There'll be something that'll be manifesting there.
Oh yeah,
towards the end of 2025, right? So
a lot of activation that's happening. Again, and we get to have fun with it, y'all. We get to remember, we get to play in it, we get to hold each other crying, but we get to hold each other laughing at the same time. And how wonderful is that? So again, Matthew, again, it's always so fun creating with you. So expansive. Again, I just love the wisdom and the activation that you're bringing, and just grateful that you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful for you, for this platform, and just for you personally, for your love and everything you're doing as a service worker here on the planet on such a massive scale. And very grateful for that.
Thank you, brother. And my love to all of y'all. It just truly just namaste in its purest sense. I'm blessed to be here with all of you. I'm wishing you a fantastic evening, a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the next live call. Don't forget to follow Matthew, sign up for his course. Y'all go deeper in, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, y'all.